Hello, everyone on Patreon. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. Today's video is a bonus movie review, and the winner this month is, drumroll please, Angel Heart from 1987. This was directed by Alan Parker, and it starred Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro, and Lisa Bonet. This is a psychological horror film meets neo-noir, 80s neo-noir. For those of you who haven't seen it, the plot, according to IMDb, is a private investigator who is hired by a man who calls himself Louis Cypher to track down a singer named Johnny Favorite, but the investigation takes an unexpected and somber turn. Okay, so I had seen this once before, nearly 20 years ago, when I was really getting into movies, and I was increasingly getting interested in the films that De Niro was in. And so this was one I saw early on, and I didn't really care for it when I first saw it, even though there are some moments and things about it that are really powerful. And my second time around seeing it, I really didn't take to it that much different. I don't really care for it, and I apologies to those of you who like this film and voted on it. But my feelings about it are that it's basically it's like what I would call a puzzle film. It's like this surrealistic horror film where some things just really don't quite make sense, and even in the end you're sort of like, what? And it's this thick plot where it follows the detective played by Mickey Rourke, and he's hired by Robert De Niro to find Johnny Favorite. So the whole film is him, going through all kinds of different leads. Some of them don't work out, some of them do, and people dying unexpectedly, and he doesn't know who's killing everyone that he's encountered. So it's this mystery the whole way through, and then it's explained at the end. But even when it is explained, it's like, what? So you have to. I read Roger Ebert said this, and I agree. It's one of these films that afterwards you go through the plot and then you put it back all together, and it seems like it's some complicated, convoluted plot, but it's really quite simple. And spoiler alert is that this person that Mickey Rourke's character Harry Angel has killed, all these people all these people that he's finding who wind up dead. After he meets with them, you find in the end that he's actually the one who has killed them all, and the reason he was hired by Robert De Niro's character Louis Cypher, and that's actually Lucifer. And I like how even Mickey Rourke's character has a comment on that, like he's like Louis Cypher, Lucifer. It's like out of a dime store novel. So I like that they kind of made fun of the cheesiness of the name. He basically is this guy, Johnny Favorite, and he's being hired by Lucifer to find Johnny Favorite, but Lucifer the whole time knows who he knows that Mickey Rourke is Johnny Favorite. And so he was this singer who was into these satanic cults, and in order to get famous, he sells his soul to the devil. And so what you find is that Angel has sold his soul to the devil to become famous, and then kill someone and plan to eat their heart in order to take their soul to give that soul to the devil, to trick the devil. So he's now disappeared and the devil's after him. And, they don't really explain, well, again, it's not meant to be literal because it's just like a surreal nightmare. So, if the devil knows all along who he is, what's the point of the whole journey of, I guess, to the journey of tracking all these leads, I guess, as a way to toy with him, to mess with him, to control him, and then ultimately to tell him what's going on in the end. I know that all sounds really strange, but again, it's really, for those of you who haven't seen it, but it's a real surreal nightmare. But, even though like those movies can be interesting, like Rosemary's Baby is like that to an extent, but that to me has, the characters are a little more interesting, at least for me. And it's like slower. It has a slower build. You can really see the characters interact more. It has more heart and an essence to it. Whereas this doesn't really have much of an essence, other than it's like a plot that then the audience can put back together later on. So, I mean, is it essentially about a guy who wants fame at all costs, that he sold his soul? I suppose so. I do admire the way it was made. I mean, it really Alan Parker really went all out. I mean, it's very stylized. It's got this jazz score. It's very neo-noir in its if in the photography. It's definitely utilizing German expressionism while at the same time using a lot of horror elements. You know, the one really memorable scene is this love scene, sex scene. I wouldn't call it a love scene, sex scene between Lisa Bonet and Mickey Rourke, and how all this blood is dropping on them, which is quite freaky as they're having sex. And there's a lot of sort of religious imagery the whole way through, but it's all like based in like voodoo magic and people who are following different satanic cults. And again, those things aren't really explained, but it's meant to just lend you to that feel of like this surreal quality that if you can make sense out of it, then it's really not surreal. When you think of your dreams, you think, gee, I had this crazy dream last night and this happened. And dreams often, particularly nightmares, don't make sense, but they have such a strong feeling. And so this is what this film is after. And I know at the time it didn't do too well, and people looking back have feel that it's worth taking another look at and that it's really good. What I really like is the performances. I mean, Mickey Rourke is phenomenal. I mean, he's so good as a detective. I could see him in all those classic neo-noirs in the 40s and 50s. I think he would have been great. His chemistry with De Niro is really good, and Lisa Bonet and Charlotte Rampling, who I love. She's only in one scene, unfortunately. He's a guy. He's got an eye for the ladies. He's just that very noir detective, and he was great with De Niro. De Niro, apparently, he was really offended at the time that De Niro didn't want, because De Niro, I'm fairly certain he doesn't do this anymore, but he still at that time treated the dynamic between the other actor as the characters may be, which people would call method, but it's not really method. It's just that some actors really went so far to immerse themselves, who happen to be from that style, that training as an actor. And Mickey, so he didn't really want to talk to Mickey Rourke at all outside of outside of filming, and Mickey Rourke really admired him as an actor, and I think he felt he'd be more collaborative, and he wasn't, and he was really offended by that. And so for years they said mean things about each other in the press. Well, I know Mickey Rourke did. I don't know about De Niro. Even as recently as The Irishman, this whole story a couple of years came out that Mickey Rourke was in an interview and he said he was going to potentially be an Irishman, but De Niro sabotaged his chance of being in it. And he really called De Niro out and said some like threatening things that he would knock him out or something along those lines. You can look it up if anyone's interested. But they have this feud, but their scenes were great. I mean, the director said it was like two boxers coming together. And De Niro, apparently, which I didn't know, is that he based the devil character on Martin Scorsese, which is strange because, I mean, hey, maybe Scorsese has a darker side that De Niro knows of, but he's such a warm, kind of passionate guy when you see him in interviews. And De Niro is so creepy in this. I mean, sure, like maybe just externally from the beard and the long hair was like a Scorsese, Scorsese in the 70s and 80s. That's how he looked. So maybe that's what De Niro people mean when they say that De Niro styled this, based it on Scorsese. But regardless of that, I mean, he's so creepy in it. It's scary. I mean, that one scene where again this running motif of of eggs and chickens, and like some religions believe that an egg is a symbol of the soul, and De Niro says that to Mickey Rourke in a restaurant, and so he takes a bite out of this egg right after he says that. The egg is the symbol of the soul, and then boom, he's eating the soul. And it's like a clue for the future. I'm going to eat your soul, because he goes to this extreme close up on it, De Niro's eyes as he bites this egg, and he looks truly scary. And they cut back to Mickey Rourke's reaction, looking freaked out. But there are all these suggestions throughout that Mickey Rourke is Johnny Favorite. He's having these weird memories and dreams of going through a crowd during World War II in Times Square, and someone screaming inside of a hotel room. So there are these clues that, okay, like, what are these dreams about? What is up? Because I've seen it twice, I vividly can remember that he is Johnny Favorite, so I could really see those clues even more almost 20 years later. But it's particularly just back on Mickey Rourke at the end. I mean, when he realizes that he is Johnny Favorite, and when he's screaming in the mirror, when he first denies it, and then when he goes and finds Lisa Bonet dead, and he's killed her, and she's also his daughter. So he slept with his daughter and then killed her. This is a, savage, evil person. And the cop says to him, "You're going to burn for this." And he says, "I know, in hell." And it's so chilling. Really, really chilling. I mean, in terms of feelings, they really got to something there, because it is a film that is chilling to the bone. But apart from that, it's just, aesthetic for me is never enough. You can make the film and tell it beautifully, but if it isn't in the writing, if it isn't in the script, if it isn't in the characters, it's very hard to make that really good or complicated or deep. So overall, I'm just, like I said, there are things I admire, but it's not my cup of tea overall. But it's worth checking out just for the acting. I would say Lisa Bonet is also really, really good in it. At the time, she was in the Cosby Show, and so she felt that if she had done something with all that has nudity and violence, and it was such a different part compared to what she was playing in the Cosby Show, that people would maybe be able to see her in a different light, perhaps once that show ended. And I think that was a smart move to play such a different part. And I thought she was really, really good. She's got a creepy scene where this voodoo satanic cult in the woods, where she like kills a chicken and the blood dripping on her face. It's really, really creepy. But again, she's really, really good in it. So I would, it's worth checking out, but it's not my favorite. So I hope that you've enjoyed this review. Thank you so much. Comment below. Let me know what you think of the film. And thanks again for voting. And I will see you in the next video.